心で悪を打つ烈火の量剣山正義の鎧の力思い知れ覚悟はいいな
また一緒になれてよかった
受けてみよ我が精霊剣の輝きを私の名はカユラ
おれ鎧の力を見るがいい
無駄な通行はしないことです
俺はサムライトルーパーだ誠を悟り人を信じ栄を尽くして正義を行おうこれぞ人の道なり
Hello everyone, we are back, and I know it's been a little bit since we had a video, and I understand that some of you were waiting for this one, and the reason we waited a little while to do this one is because Apex Arena was actually closed on the Chinese server after Season 7 ended for quite a while, so we had to wait a bit, or I decided to wait a bit before we did this video because I wanted to see Rio and Kayura in action in Apex a little bit more before I talked about them. So today, Frontier's not with me right now. He got a little bit busy, but maybe he'll join us later, we'll see. But I'm also here with Cecil H.
Hey guys, it's nice to meet you all.
So Cecil is in the Art Academy for Wikigrisser. So for those of you who do not know, the Art Academy is basically just a quote-unquote official fan art group. You can join it, and then you draw fan art every month. And you get to get like nice rewards for doing so. So Cecil, I don't know if they have like a special place where they display your guys' art.
We don't have like an official place, but from time to time they'll post on their social media outlets, so like Facebook, Reddit, on Discords, the art that some of the Art Academy members draw.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, if you guys have seen like Azrael, who is our one of our community reps, if he posts fan art onto like Reddit or Facebook and that sort of thing, it's usually from the Art Academy, or it could be from the Art Academy from other servers, and I myself, like, I've been trying to collect some of this art and maybe create a page for it, but it's I want to make sure I don't put any art that people don't want seen on the website, but maybe some of you have seen me create a page for it. It's a work in progress though. So today we're actually going to be talking about the Ronin Warriors collab, which is what a strange IP to be choosing. So Cecil, do you know anything about Ronin Warriors?
I think Ronin Warriors came out before I was even born. Like, I'm not very old, so the show's older than I am.
Okay.
So I have like no affinity towards it. I don't know anything about it. Like, it's before my time, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I'm an old man, but I'm pretty sure this show ended in Japan before I was born as well. Although, like, I believe it aired in the States in the 90s. I don't know if it ever aired in the UK.
No, like, anime broadcastings in the UK are very rare unless it's very popular. So, like, if it's not, like, absolutely mainstream, like Pokemon or Dragon Ball, like, it's very rarely shown.
Mm. Well, I think Ronin Warriors is definitely one. Like, this is not one I even heard of when I was a kid, because like it was airing when I was a kid. I never heard of it. And when I was a kid, I was watching stuff like Voltron, like that sort of thing. Was you heard about it? I don't think I've ever heard of Ronin Warriors until this game decided to collab with it. And this show is actually on Amazon Prime. I realized that, so I actually went to watch an episode of it. And it's fine. it's what you expect. Yeah, it's what you expect.
Honestly,
yeah, okay.
It just looks like Japanese Power Rangers. Like, I guess that'd be the equivalent to like maybe the Western audience.
Japanese Power Rangers as opposed to not Japanese Power Rangers.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it is very similar to like the tokusatsu shows that got popular in Japan. Probably, I mean, tokusatsu shows have been popular in Japan for a long time. So yeah, I mean, a lot of anime in the 80s and the 90s were in a similar vein, kind of like the costume hero or power armor, that sort of thing. I mean, they still make those now, but I don't think it's as popular as it used to be, at least in animation.
Yeah, I'd say like today's trend would be like isekais. We're seeing a lot more isekais come out in the forefront in anime productions.
So yeah, so if you guys are curious about this show, I guess you can go get Amazon Prime. I already had Amazon Prime, so I just watched like a few episodes to get a feel for the show. It's definitely a 90s anime action show, is what I'll say about it. But we are here to talk about Wikigrisser. So I guess we can start by talking about the freebie SR that they got, which is Touma. So Touma is the strategic one. He's like the thinking man of the group. So of course he gets placed in the Strategic Masters faction, and apparently no other faction because screw SRs. I guess it's the philosophy going on at Zalone right now. Well, I mean, he has Time Faction, of course, but the thing about Touma is that when I first saw his talent and his three cost skill, those leaked pretty early. His talent and his 3-cost skill, and I was looking at it, I was like, oh, this looks pretty good. Like, I thought he would be pretty good. Because his talent is like a standard, like, attack plus talent, and then he gets, like, this crazy armor buff that Ryo also gets, except Ryo's is even better. So Touma's armor gives him even more attack, increases his range. He's immune to all debuffs, which is probably the craziest part of this. But it's like... Yeah, it's kind of like the transform for Rin or Yusuke, except it's applied automatically as long as you fulfill certain conditions. It activates automatically, so you don't have to waste a turn using it as a skill, I guess. But the one thing that caught my eye is the fact that anytime Touma, before he deals damage to anybody, he will disable their passive skills. And then I saw his 3-cost skill, and his 3-cost skill is a line AoE. It's a 1-line AoE with 7 range, so it's like Dark Demise. So it does 0.36 AoE damage, which is pretty good, and it's effective against flyers, and it dispels 2 buffs. So that's actually a pretty good AoE. And when I was looking at it, I was thinking like, oh, this character is going to be an AoE character. He's going to have a bunch of AoEs, and his talent is going to say disable passives, so you can just use him to disable passives all over the place. And I thought that's what he was going to be. And then the rest of his kit was revealed, and I was like, what are you doing, Zalone? So the entire rest of his kit, that's not his 3-cost skill, is all single target skills. And when I saw that, I was just like, okay, that just completely destroys like any interesting thing I thought I could have done with him. I don't know. What's your first impression looking at this character, Cecil?
I mean, I like his talent, the like you said, the transformation, like getting the armor like immediately. Like I like that, the benefits it has to it. Like that's a pretty cool concept to go with their like power armor. The 3C skill, it seems good. Like the line AoE, just like dispel to disable passive at the same time and like getting a bit of damage. I think it combines with his 1-cost skill, which if you have like 4 mobility or equal to 4 mobility, then you also reduce the movement as well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if I'm using an archer for the Strategic Masters faction, I'd still rather use a Lustrial.
Yes.
I'm not seeing where he would be better than a Lustrial for killing stuff, especially since his kit is AoE 3C, but the rest of his kit is all single target.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why when I saw his 3-cost and talent leak early, I was like, oh, is he going to be an AoE character? Because that would at least be a unique niche that he would have been able to occupy. But it's like Strategic Masters and, well, Time Faction, and yeah, you're competing against a Lustrial, who is probably easily the best archer in the game right now. I mean, archers in general really aren't used in PvP that much.
Yeah, and, I mean, Illustrial's like the only one I can think of that is used consistently, just because of her exclusive.
Right, she's not even played as an archer, really. She's an assassin. Generally speaking, if you cannot pierce guard, you need to either provide some kind of utility or just really, really strong single target damage that can destroy a tank. And that doesn't look like that Touma can really do that. He only has a 30% attack soldier bonus. He does get like another 30% from his talent when he has his armor up. So that is a lot of attack, but I mean, I don't think archers have it as bad anymore because people don't use Landius as much anymore. So you don't have to deal with the ranged defense aura as much. But it's still, it's still kind of rough. I mean, even Hilda, Hilda can counter archers at 3 range, so it's not even easy to outrange her and avoid getting countered by her. I guess the only other unique thing I want to point out is that his move, because his passive disable is before battle. I mean, that's what I noticed. That's actually before battle, which is very powerful. That means he can actually move lock Hilda, unlike every other move lock character, because he'll disable her passive before battle, and if you use snare, you'll actually lock Hilda down, and it can't be dispelled. So if Hilda ends her turn, you can use snare on Touma, and he actually can Moby lock Hilda, unlike almost everybody else with the Moby lock. So that's the one unique thing I feel like he can do. I am not entirely sure if his one passive that says inflict movement -2 for 1 turn, like, I don't know if that goes before or after his passive disable. If it's after his passive disable, then that will also work against Hilda.
I mean, if it's before, that's great. Being able to disable basically the tank's guard. I mean, it lets you set up, but it's very, very niche to use to have Touma just do that to Hilda.
Yeah, I was just pointing out the one unique thing, because like Hilda, one of the crazy things about Hilda is the fact that she is immune to mobility down from her 3-cost passive. I mean, like you said, it's very niche. I mean, and he doesn't really have any movement closer abilities, which is kind of a problem, because these days there's like, I guess, movement power creep. There's like so many units that can move really, really far now, and Touma does not really make up for that in any way, aside from the one AoE he has. The one thing I will say about his AoE is that it's effective against flyers, and he is an archer, so maybe he can one-shot some stuff with this 3C. Yeah, he's definitely a freebie SR.
Yeah. There's not much too unique to it. I feel like in the strategy faction, if you wanted to compare him to someone, he'd be a little bit like Olivier, where he's like another archer that's really good against flyers, but Olivier has a lot more utility with the damage reduction and the negating actigans.
Yeah. The one thing about Olivier that Touma does have is that Olivier's AoEs, I believe, don't have the effective against flyers clause. So Olivier got pretty close to one-shotting flyers a lot of the time, and Touma, I believe the multiplier is very similar to what Olivier has, plus it has the flyer effectiveness. So I do think that Touma, if you stack his attack high enough, he can one-shot some flyers through their last rites.
It'd be interesting to see that, though I haven't seen like anybody try and use Touma yet on the Chinese server.
Well, I mean, the first reason you haven't seen that yet is because he hasn't been out long enough for anybody to shard him to 6 stars. But also, I'm guessing nobody's going to bother, because it's just so much investment for someone who's not even that interesting, even compared to like a lot of the other freebies we've gotten. Like, even compared to like Shibaraku or Ainz, he's worse than them, I think. His kit is mostly too generic, and the few unique things he can do are just like, who cares?
Yeah, there are probably better investments of time for an archer unit. Like, I'd rather invest in Nahum. At least she's useful for AB.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's not even good for PvE. Yeah, like he didn't get any factions to make him useful for PvE, and that really sucks. If he had like Glory or something, all these single target skills and pretty decent stats all around, like he would have been kind of useful for PvE. And he wouldn't have needed any bond characters, so that's always the advantage of collab characters. You don't need to pull another character to bond them. But yeah, it's like they just thanks Zalon. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. You want anything? You want to add anything here for Touma?
No, I haven't got much to say on Touma, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, since I guess that's that. If you guys are a fan of the show and you like Touma, then you should always invest in characters you like. But yeah, this unit is pretty But since we got that out of the way, we can talk about the gacha characters and what a crazy pair of characters they decided to add this time, because I guess they decided when the Wataru collab I mean, Himiko is really good, but not a lot of people used Wataru. So then when they designed Ryo, they were just like, okay, let's make Wataru, except he's actually good this time. So we got Ryo here. So Ryo is an infantry / holy character, melee DPS. So similar to Touma, he has a talent that gives him a lot of stats. He gets attack and defense instead of just attack. When he attacks, he can't die. So like he can't die to like Leiden counters, he can't die to Albedo counters, he can't die to thorns, which is one of the most important things. He just like Touma, he gets an armor when he ends his turn in the danger zone. So he gets some damage bonus, he gets a damage reduction, he gets movement +1, he gets immune to all debuffs. Again, that's probably one of the craziest parts. And this cannot be immunized or dispelled, so like you can't even bring like Bozel to sleep him or something and hope it goes away. The buff only lasts 3 turns, so when you're using Ryo, you do have to like kind of make good use of his armor buff. But yeah, aside from that, he's kind of nuts. Like he has all kinds of crazy single target attacks, and most notably his 3-cost skill and one of his other attacks that is the 2-cost skill. They're kind of his signature attacks from the show. So these skills, the attack itself is pretty standard, like 1.5 times damage, but the extra effects are kind of crazy. So first off, both of these attacks attack twice. So it's a player phase Leiden attack, except it's with a skill. So imagine if Leiden was countering you, except on player phase, except he also gets 1.5 times damage on it. And it's coming off of a hero that has a huge attack bonus, a damage dealt bonus. And his 3-cost skill also disables revives. So Ryo is probably just the craziest tank buster in the game right now. By the way, this revive disable is an aura. It's an aura that it's a buff that applies to Ryo himself. That lasts 1 turn. You can dispel this buff, but of course the point is that he buffs himself with it before using the 3-cost skill. So he puts it up, you can't revive, he'll probably kill you with this 3-cost and your tank is dead. So really the one downside I think there is to Ryo is that he walks really slow. He has 3 movement, 4 if you use Apex Boots, and if you have his armor up he gets another 1 movement. He doesn't have a teleport, he doesn't have any strikes or chivalry style abilities. You just have to slowly walk him up to your opponent's tank and then blow them up. That's his job. What do you think, Cecil?
Ryo sounds like an absolutely insane character. Giving units undispellable gospel is really absurd. The ability to giving him the equivalent of what Clarett can do with disabling revives before battle is, well, yeah, his being before battle, Clarette's being after battle is, again, ridiculous. Because it now lets him effectively pretty much one-shot most of the revive tanks in the game, I would imagine, at least if you build him that way.
Yeah.
With nothing but, like, damage. The attacking twice as well, I think, how many units can attack twice with their skills? Like, Legend, obviously, with his talent. I think Joshua with double tap can do it, but that's only a percentage chance.
I forgot that even existed. Nobody ever uses it.
I think I've only ever used it against, what's the AB? The Needhog? I've only ever used it against Needhog.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up Clarett, and one thing I will say is that he's actually, like, he's really crazy compared to Clarett, because Clarett, he has to apply his debuff, which means which means Gospel and Rosenseal will stop Clarett. And, Clarett, obviously, he has to take his turn, and your opponent can respond to that before you can take advantage of your revive disable. Ryo is not like that. He puts an aura on himself before he attacks, so this probably is not blocked by Gospel or Rosenseal, because auras generally are not. And like you said, this attack 1.5 times damage, attacking twice, coming off of a unit that has really strong offenses in his talent and his stats. I don't think almost no tank is going to survive this, aside from Albedo getting some good RNG.
I'm thinking maybe Juggler. Juggler might live because he's one of the few tanks that doesn't have a revive skill.
Well, yeah, Juggler doesn't care anyway. But like Juggler, I mean, attacking twice into jug. I mean, I will say, like, Rio doesn't have, like, Ragnarok, and he doesn't, unless you equip him with the Twilight Star, he's not going to blow up Juggler's last rites either. So, I do think it is possible that Juggler can survive, but I don't think so, because Juggler, honestly, like, he's not that great of a tank these days. I mean, against physical, it's not so bad.
Yeah, I'd say Juggler's more of an offensive pressure unit. Like, you know, you have to be scared of the Sacred Beast to him, more of, he's this huge, on this huge tank that you can't get through anymore.
Yeah, so I think the only tanks that can really survive this reliably, or quote-unquote reliably, Albedo. You probably need to get some RNG in there for Albedo to survive. Yeah. Hilda is also a maybe. Like, Hilda can... Well, I mean, Hilda's... The thing about Hilda is, like, she cannot disable Rio's weapon because he has self-gospel. So the what is it? The melee defense skill that Hilda has.
Broken spear.
Yeah, broken spear. Yeah, I forgot what the translated, like, official translated name was. So, like, broken spear does not affect Rio. You can bring heavy shield on Hilda and pray for that. But most people do not equip bloodline armor on Hilda, so yeah, that's kind of nuts.
Maybe can Lucia live that? I don't even know. I mean, you get last rites, so he can't pop it, and he also can't take you out of water. Say if he managed to just, like, take you out of water, your exclusive would reapply afterwards.
Yeah, I do think Lucia has a chance to survive. Yeah, because she is pretty good at tanking physical. It's possible that you cannot bring pirates if you want to survive Rio. You probably have to bring, like, tidal elves or something.
You'd have to bring tidal elves. You said earlier that his classes were Sword and Holy, right? So I'd imagine you'd probably run Holy, that way you don't suffer any class disadvantages.
Okay, so this is the interesting thing, okay? So like, Holy, of course, you can run Holy and just not have to worry about class disadvantage. But the thing is that you can run Infantry, and, well, they have the same attack, so you don't get extra attack, so either class is good. But the thing about Infantry is that, yes, you might run into some calves, but he gets the Hoplite Lancers. That's what they're called now. They keep changing the name to piss us off, but I'm pretty sure they settle on Hoplite. But Hoplite Lancers that ignore class, right? So just equip the Hoplites on him. And
I didn't realize they got Hoplites.
Yeah, he gets Hoplites, and you could just ignore all classes, and he'll just blow up Horsies anyway. Some people ask, like, should I use there's like that cavalry killing accessory? I think it's better to just bring Hoplites, and I believe Hoplites actually disable stuff like Slayers and Judge Talisman and all that stuff, so don't combine the two. I think the best accessory from him is probably going to be like Winged Shin Guards or something, because he's pretty tanky. He's got 25% defense from his talent, and when he's in his armor, he's got physical damage taken minus 30%. So he is at least as tanky as Reen is.
Another absurd protagonist from another collaboration, just what the game needed.
Yeah. I mean, I play Protag, and I will say, like, Protag faction really isn't that good, because they're limited by Matthew, who is just kind of bad right now. I mean, that's the interesting thing. I guess you brought up his factions. He is in the Legend faction, and some people... Like, you've seen a lot of people dropping Landius because there's not a lot of good Legend characters to buff anymore. Rio might help that a little bit. Even with Rio being as crazy as he is, I think Legend is not ready to make a comeback yet. They still need more characters, I think, for Legend to be good again.
There's two... He's in the same spot SP Sigma's in. Like, his factions really limit his, like, viability at the moment. Where, like, Sigma's in Legends and Media and Protags. And, well, we know the problem with Protags is Matthew isn't that great of a PvP unit. Legends is obviously buffed by Landius Sigma, so you really want to run, like, Landius with Sigma for the faction buff.
Yeah.
And then in Media, like, obviously we've only got Zerida as a Media faction buffer, and it's probably very hard to get both assassins on the field. Like, if you first pick a Zerida just for the Media faction buff, I would imagine most players would just ban out, like, things like Sigma.
Yeah, and the other thing is that Zerida is actually getting dropped from a lot of boxes on the Chinese server now, because it's getting to the point where there's too many units that assassins can't really reliably kill. I mean, I've seen Zerida's kill Reen through, like, transform and faction buff and everything. but you probably need a really, really crazy Zerda to be able to accomplish that. And I think most players are just like, I'm not going to take that chance with an assassin. Because, like, if you fail to kill, it's just kind of like, well, I just throw away for no reason.
She's also really slow to set up, like, compared to some of the other assassins, like we said earlier, Illustrial. Like, Illustrial just, like, takes, like, no time to settle.
Illustrial just runs across the entire map. And the thing about comparing Sigma to Real to Sigma, Sigma, yes, he can use the Legend faction buff, but Sigma does have his helm. RNG can kind of bone you with his helm, but it is kind of cool that Sigma can be self-reliant in that sense. It's kind of annoying though, like I said, 25% chance activation. But that's the other thing about Legend is that the one other faction buffer they have, which is Sigma, they deliberately designed him in a way where it's like he can't really work that well with a faction buff. I think that was a huge design oversight when they designed SP Sigma. Is this like they designed him to work mostly with one specific kit that did not include his faction buff, which I just thought that was a terrible idea. Like, because if you want a character to have their faction buff be a utility option, it's like limiting them in that way is just so weird.
You wouldn't really want to bring like the faction buff on Sigma when he's all about trying to snipe like high priority targets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The faction buff on Sigma can work if you're going against a tankless team, because a tankless team, you just bring stuff like Strong Wind Snipe and just have Sigma be kind of a long-range sniping character. And you can only... people who have used Sigma know what I'm talking about. Like, his kit is...
Yeah, it becomes very similar to Zero in that sense. Like, if you bring faction buff, you need, like, at least 2 turns of setup.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have any support to go with it.
Yeah. And if you don't bring his dueling set, his threat range is actually pretty short compared to other assassins. He'll only have 4 move plus 3 guard pierce range. So that's why I say, like, when it's tankless, it's a little bit better, because if you're fighting against tankless, you can just shoot from 6 spaces away and not have to worry about guard. But yeah, anyway, I guess the point of all this is that the Legend faction still has a lot of problems, because really, you have Sigma, we have Rio, and we have Himiko. Those are the 3 main Legend characters I think you see a lot of.
Oh, there's one more you're forgetting. We're forgetting about Boomerlando. I'd say Boomerlando is
yes, of course.
Still very good.
Oh yeah, of course. I tend to forget about him because I always my brain always thinks of him as more as being the mythical faction. But yeah, that is true. Yeah, I mean, people dropped Rachel. Nobody really uses Rachel anymore. Clarett just isn't powerful enough, I think, these days to kill a lot of things. Knight of Mystery, also same thing. Just power creep is just giving Legend a hard time right now, and
even Angelina, with the introduction of Hilda, it's much harder for Angelina to do her job now.
Speaking of factions, and one other reason is that because they keep buffing the mythical faction, which we're going to talk about in a second here. Do you have anything else to say about Rio before we talk about that?
I think, when eventually we do get the collab, we will see him around. I think he's too good to not, try.
Yeah. I mean, you could still, just bring a strengthen buff for him or something.
We've got enough units in the game with Gospel, or, you can use, a Sophia with an Omni buff.
Yeah.
So I think people will find ways to slot him in, and, I think his only issue is, the short legs. There are a lot, like you said, there are a lot of units in the game now that have absolutely ridiculous movement.
Yeah.
Which means there's the potential to force proc his armor and maybe just make him useless for a couple of turns.
3 turns with 4 movement is usually enough to reach the other side of the map, so I don't think that's too big a problem. Really, my biggest issue is how well can he survive assassins, because Ring can still die to assassins a lot of the time, and his bulk is very similar to Ring, I would say.
But I mean, if it's similar to Ring, then it's probably can probably live through Zerida, but if it's the same as Reed, then he's probably very much dead to Illustrial.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't mean to keep bringing her up like she's this omni amazing assassin.
No, I mean, I mean, Illustrial really is probably the best assassin in a vacuum right now in the game. Rio, he might die to Sigma dueling him, It's hard to say because, like, I mean, Sigma dueling is always kind of a gamble.
Maybe Shalinka. Shalinka's pretty reliable at killing people, since her troops attack as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think Rio definitely is more for a tank push box. Because if you're not fighting against a tank, then he loses a lot of his appeal. Because he's short-legged. I mean, he's still really strong. It's just that if you're not fighting against a tank, then a lot of the stuff he brings is kind of like, it's okay. I mean, he can kill Yulia in one hit. That's one thing. But Yulia is also found in tank push boxes. So,
but I'm sure there'll be plenty of people out there where it's like, he just seems amazing with the whole I can incinerate most tanks in the game.
I mean, just Wataru is seething right now because he's like everything Wataru wishes he was. Mostly, Wataru does have a couple tools at his disposal that Rio does not. Although on the topic of tank busting, okay, so let's back up for a second because I don't want to make it sound like Rio is some unit that you just pick and then your opponent's tank just spontaneously combusts or anything like that. Tank busters, by their very nature, tend to require a decent amount of support to work. So in addition to the fact that we mentioned that Rio's factions are a little bit inconvenient at the moment, especially with Landius not super common in boxes anymore. Obviously, if you use Rio, you really should put Landius in your box.
Yeah.
But you'll also notice that he has a number of shortcomings when compared to some other tank busters. So I'm going to compare him to Elwyn and Yulia, okay? I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Elwyn has huge movement nowadays. Elwyn has a faction buff, and Elwyn has better tank busting soldiers. Most notably Unicorns, which are probably still the most busted soldier in the game in a vacuum. Yulia doesn't have a faction buff or the big movement. But at least when Yulia fails a tank bust, she has a pretty good chance of taking out an enemy DPS instead because she has a guard lock. So if you look at Rio's toolkit, all the eggs are in one basket. His job is to blow up the tank. And if he fails at that, you actually don't have a lot of recourse. And as far as just the pure tank busting potential goes, I actually do see a couple of flaws on Rio's side. First, even though Rio can use hoplites to ignore his class disadvantage, hoplites actually aren't super offensive. They're just sort of moderately offensive. And you can say the same about a lot of his other soldiers. He has heavy infantry, he has mass maids, he has zealots. None of these are crazy tank busting soldiers. Usually when you think of crazy tank busting soldiers, you probably think of things like Unicorns, Heaven's Guard, Bone Dinos. Even for Lancers, Amazon Champions generally do more damage. Infantries has the Barbarian Warriors now, which are really strong. Even Demons have stuff like Undead Knights and Werewolves. Rio has none of those. So if Rio's soldiers aren't strong enough to blow up the opponent's soldiers, that means that even though Rio attacks twice with his really strong skills, he still needs to waste a decent number of attacks on the soldiers before he starts hitting the tank itself. And when you look at the skills themselves, compared to something like Sword Soul or Holy Justice, you got 1.5 times damage attacking twice, but there's not a ton of special effects going on here. Sword Soul and Holy Justice are crazy because they dispel like all your buffs. They dispel 5 buffs. Rio's 3-cost skill does not do that. So even if you pump your Rio to really high attack, really good stats, Rio is going to be facing off against a full-powered tank as compared to Elwyn or Yulia, who get to dispel all their buffs before they attack. So I do think even in the realm of just pure tank busting, Rio does have some shortcomings. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. Right now the jury is still kind of out on whether or not Rio can tank bust really well. Part of the reason is because I guess Wales didn't really bother pulling on Rio until he was 6 stars. So it's probably going to be like another month or two before we really know what Rio's full potential is. Whew. Okay, well, since we were talking earlier about the Legend faction falling behind stuff like the Mythical faction, so let's have another example of that because we're going to talk about Kayura. Kayura, who was in the Dark and Mythical factions, because of course she is in both of those. Kayura is actually a villain from the show. Which probably explains the factions. How do I explain this? Kayura is Rachel if she had a bunch of extra movement. She ignored people's magic defense, so she was scything on every single attack. And she was an assassin. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Like, I've seen the description of her, and what she does is I don't know who designed her. Like, I'm pretty confident whoever designed her got a bit too excited, or they were a really big fan of the show, and like this was their favorite character.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually played around with Kayura a little bit myself, and I haven't even unlocked her 3-cost skill yet, and I gotta say she's pretty crazy. I don't even know where to start, because, well, first off, we got the last magic assassin we got was Patsir, and Patsir was like a niche, like kind of memey character who was like, she can only pierce guard if you're a guy, and
yeah, it's like it fit the whole succubus theme.
Well, my point is more that like I thought that was an indication that they knew that a magic assassin would be absolutely ridiculous in this game because nobody builds magic defense, and I guess they decided to just throw that out a window like 2 months later, because now we have Kayura, who is a magic assassin with no prerequisites, attacks from 3 range with a bunch of her attacks, and 4 range if you have the range staff, of course. She heals people like Rachel does. She's she kind of like has a mini juggler AoE healing talent. If you hit her with an AoE, she will heal herself and heal the weakest ally. She dispels debuffs. She's like, she pierces guard. She ignores magic defense. She has like 6 movement. What is this? Yeah,
like her skills are insane. I mean, they gave this assassin gospel as well, I think.
Yes, she has gospel. She has everything.
She's just omni everything. Like, I'm trying to think of the things that she can't do.
She also has a move again skill. Like, after she attacks, she can teleport herself 3 spaces. So it's not even like move again where she's limited by like mountains and stuff. She teleports herself 3 spaces after she attacks, and there's no cooldown on this. So it's just a better move again.
Yeah, it's like Omega's talent, but on steroids.
Omega's is arguably better because Omega teleports back to where he was and then moves 3 spaces. So like that's actually like, so if you run Omega really far and kill someone, he teleports all the way back to your group, and then you can walk another 3 spaces. So Omega's is even crazier, but Omega needs to kill someone to activate it.
That's the thing. There's a prerequisite to killing someone to teleport. This girl can just attack for free and run and teleport away.
Yeah, and even if you're not confident in her ability to pierce guard and kill stuff, it's like she ignores magic defense. She's got all kinds of good single target attacks. She can attack from 3 to 4 range depending on what you have equipped, and so even if you don't think you have a good target to assassinate, she can still function kind of like Rachel, where she heals the group and attacks and hurts the tank. Absolutely disgusting. What is there to say about this?
Just if you're a big fan of playing Dark Unit's Mythical Realm, just pull for her. I don't think there's any downside to trying to get her.
People have been experimenting with first pick Kayura. She is that good. She's really crazy. And she also fills a role that the Dark and Mythical factions didn't really have. They didn't really have a good, like, off-healer, I think. Licorice, sorta, especially with the exclusive she had just announced for the patch after this one. But yeah, like, it's kind of crazy because it fills in something that you would think that it used to be that like the Glory or the Protagonist faction, those are the factions that tend to have a lot more healing and debuff removal and all that stuff. But to give ones to the Dark and Mythical factions, which are, especially the Mythical faction, which is absolutely crazy still. The Dark faction has a number of weaknesses, but the Mythical faction is kind of nuts. And the fact that they gave them a Rachel that can pierce guard, that's what's going on here.
Yeah, someone just got really trigger happy designing this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I could add here, because I mean she does have some trouble killing some targets, especially if you bring her teleport move against skill. Because she's actually kind of lacking in damage mods, if you'll notice. So that's why most people run her with Twilight Star. So you want to break last rites and stuff. She has Faith. That's really the main damage mod she has. But most of the time, you're not going to be bringing Faith. You're probably going to be bringing her teleport skill. You're going to be bringing her 3-cost skill. And you're probably going to bring in the other guard pure skill. So she's kind of scared of people wearing last rites. Aeolus armor probably gives her a hard time as well. Stacking magic defense doesn't help you very much against her, though, because almost basically all her attacks have a scythe effect, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's I mean, maybe you might see more Luna, maybe? Just to make up for the ignoring magic defense?
Yeah,
maybe as a
sure.
Luna's not that great outside being a support unit now, and Princess isn't, like, the greatest faction.
Yeah, this is... I think her kit is pretty self-explanatory. Most people are using Pale Staff on her to make up for the fact that she has no damage mods, because Pale Staff does give you 15% damage. And the thing is like, even if you're up against like a Sork user, a Sorceress user, and you're scared of, oh, I can't blow up their Sorceresses, but the thing is, she has the Faceless Assassins as a soldier choice, so I think a couple of the tests have shown that with the Sorceresses, I think she can kill Bernhardt. Although it is kind of a difficult kill, so you do need very good enchants to be able to kill a good Bernhardt. I'm guessing that's kind of the main character they wanted to check in terms of, like, because Bernhardt was kind of going kind of nuts in Season 7 on China, so I guess they wanted to add a character that could more reliably kill Bernhardt. But just when you do stuff like that, when you create a character to specifically counter one character, it's like you're kind of screwing over a bunch of other characters that aren't as strong as that character.
Yeah.
I believe most tests show that she can kill Rin as well, although that is kind of a difficult kill. But aside from that, most DPS are gonna die to this lady. I think most mages will die too if you have Twilight Star, because most people don't use Med Ring that much. And like I said, you can still use her to hit a tank pretty hard.
There's not really, like, I can't really think of a downside to using her. Like, if you're able to kill nearly every unit in the game and reliably just teleport, heal, ignore guard... I don't know. It's
an anti-AoE.
Really...
It's like she helps you. She protects you against AoE strats by healing herself and an ally. Pretty much a must pull from, especially if you use the mythical faction. I think even for non-mythical players, she's going to be a very popular character to put in their box.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind using her with Bozal. I know the faction buff doesn't combine very well with her because she's not a debuffer, but just having access to some of, like, the best faction buffers in the game, and like Sage, Gizaroth, Bozal, maybe Licorice to a lesser extent, is still pretty crazy.
Yeah, I know we were kind of going crazy here, but I really can't think of any other reasonable reaction to Kayura. She seems absolutely nuts. But I don't think there's a lot of interesting, like, nuance to her character, I guess, like to building her, because I think she's pretty straightforward in terms of build and how to slot her into a box. Do you think you have anything else you want to add?
I'm just thinking, if this is any notice, like, if they want to counter to be like a Bernhardt, I'm wondering, like, if they plan in the future to release, like, another magic defense tank, maybe something better than a meter, like something maybe with, like, a magic defense can't be dispelled, just to, like, help out, because I get the feeling that Kayura is going to be, like, this next level power creep in the game, and they're going to need to, like, do what they've been doing recently, which is they create one power creep and have to counterbalance it with another one. So, like, our first instance was, like, with Rin. Rin was pretty absurd when he first came out, and then they had to bring out Rosenseal to counterbalance that, and then now we're getting Kruger in Global, next month to try and counterbalance Rosenseal.
I mean, like you said, you could bring Luna to sort of give her a hard time. I don't know if that might be enough, like, because Luna is, like, what is it, like 25% MDR, I believe her aura was. And
I think it's 30. I think it's 30 on talent.
Is it 30? Okay. Yeah, it's been so long since I used Luna, I already forgot. I mean, like I said, damage reduction does give her a really hard time, so if you bring Luna along, that's definitely going to make it a lot harder for her to kill stuff, so...
Bro, I wouldn't really go out of my way to say, alright, Luna's like this omni counter to Kayura. It's maybe a helpful idea rather than it's the solution.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. Do you have anything you want to add? This character is absolutely nuts. Like I don't know what else to say.
No, I'm kind of speechless. Like she's just really absurd. Like, there's not really a downside to her that I can think of. That's like, oh, don't use her.
I mean, she's frail, like most assassins are. That's a quote unquote downside, but that's a downside that every single unit like her has. So, I guess somebody on the dev team this is their waifu.
Yeah, might have to get Azrael to spill the beans later.
Well, one of the popular rumors, take this with a grain of salt, is that the CEO of Zalone is the one who picks out a lot of the collabs. And that theory does track because a lot of the collabs that were chosen, like for example, Masahiro Wataru and Ronin Warriors, these are shows that were airing in the part of China that CEO grew up in when he was a kid. So a lot of people do think like, okay, he's just picking shows that he has nostalgia for.
Why can't he pick Shining Force then?
I don't know how popular Shining Force was in China. Actually, I guess I could ask like somebody else.
That's all I want is a Shining Force collaboration, and I'll die happy.
Yeah, I would love to see Shining Force.
I am here.
Hello, Frontier.
Hi.
Okay.
We're just sleeping or something.
Yes, you're.
Oh, right on the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, Frontier, we just finished talking about all three characters. We finished talking about Touma, Kayura, and Ryo. TLDR, Touma sucks. Ryo and Kayura are absolutely bonkers. Do you think you want to add anything before we move on?
Lolly Ninja and Shoda Samurai guy. That's it.
Okay, that's all you gotta say. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I guess that's all.
Wait. No, sorry. I'm dumb. I was talking about the people that are going to come up in next.
No. Well, okay. Well, the fact that I thought you were also talking about this collab really says something. But
yes, all the samurai people. No, I looked at them. They're like, okay.
Yeah, the Ryo, the samurai, and the Kayura.
Yeah, I'll probably just pull like 100 or do 100 and summons and see if I get anybody.
Yeah, these two are absolutely nuts. But like you mentioned Loli Ninja, but like here's the thing, like Kayura, so she's like 12 in the context of the show. I mean, when it's those 80s/90s designs. Like you look at her and she doesn't look like she would be 12. I mean, it's anime. You can never tell how old somebody is.
Yeah,
I really know.
Yeah, I guess if that's all you gotta say, we can talk about 3-cost skills now. We can talk. So let's start with Listell's 3-cost skill. So Listell's 3-cost skill is basically it's a combination of several skills that she has, which is something they seem to really like doing with 3-cost skills, I think. This is a combination. This is an AoE attack similar to Mind Bore, but it does not do magic damage taken increased like Mind Bore does. It gives everybody the Reaper Touch debuff for 1 turn. It also creates terrain that inflicts them with Listell's talent. So, I mean, it's pretty good, I think. Like Listell still hasn't solved her problem of being completely boned by Gospel and Rosenseal. It does help a little bit against Gospel because this is an AoE and you can only Gospel one person at a time. To me, the interesting builds you could do with this is that I think if you want to build Listell after this 3-cost, you should probably build a magic defense Listell and just get her, like play her similar to Bozel, where she's a debuff character with a lot of magic defense that converts into a really high intelligence score. So you bring this plus Mind Bore, and she can kind of be an AoE magic damage dealer that also does some very annoying debuffs. That's my take on it. What do you think, Cecil?
I think it's an interesting concept making like this Reaper's Touch like an AoE ability. I think it's quite nice. Even like the terrain is nice because you can there's the potential to override like land Odious tiles or Lico tiles or like Helena tiles.
Yeah.
I guess my only issue is that like Rosenseal is like omnipresent in the meta, so it doesn't like help against that. Like there's no piercing immunities.
I mean, it is a problem, but I feel like if you were playing a Dark Faction box, which is probably where you would be seeing Listell nowadays, you would probably ban Rosin first because you are a debuff focused player. That's the majority of Dark Faction. So I feel like Rosin isn't as big an issue because you're probably going to be banning her. The issue is getting rid of the Gospels and making sure you have enough damage to take care of Juggler, who is probably going to get picked.
I've used her for meme strats and other things, but I do like the tile aspect. That's about it.
There's so many terrain effects now, and it's nice to have someone who can do terrain effects just maybe not so much for the terrain effect itself, but just to get rid of all of it. Probably the best character for doing that is still Licorice, because she has so many different skills she can place down tiles with, and they're low cooldown. This skill has a 4-turn cooldown, which is pretty long.
You know, you might see more clock Listells. I mean, I have seen maybe like a few clock Listells for people who just want to clock Blood Dance all over and over again.
I think, I think this skill you would bring Seal, the 3-cost skill, and you would choose either Mindbore or Blood Dance. You could possibly bring Demonic Guard as well, because if you have built a magic defense Listell, you know, you can just be like, just use her as your magic tank. You know, I've seen that before. Next, we can talk about Lance's 3-cost skill. It is absolutely terrible. I don't know what Zilong is doing. What do you think, Cecil?
Yeah, it doesn't really change much about Lance. It's still basically, he's still he still has class advantage against flyers and cavalry, and it's like, okay, but it doesn't change any aspect of Lance. He's basically still the same character.
It's basically just lightning. It's the bonus effects on it, I don't feel like are of any use whatsoever. You know, it's like, okay, he heals himself a bit before he fights a flyer on a cavalry, and it's like, okay, sure. The attack portion is so underpowered. It's like, I don't even like, even compared to other SR 3-cost skills. Like, you compare this to something like Alfred's 3-cost skill. It really is. I don't understand what they're trying to do with Lance. I don't understand why they think Lance is actually usable in any way. I mean, I've used Lance once in a while, just as like in my like SR clears of some maps, but that's only because there's no other option, not because he's actually useful in any way. Yeah, and the thing is like the 3-cost skill is often very, very core to how they design the SP class. So even if Lance somehow like ends up getting an SP class, I mean, I can think of some weird things they could do to make it also work well with an SP class, but well, first off, an SP class isn't guaranteed, so it's like you shouldn't design a skill with the assumption that, oh, maybe in the future they will make it better. It's like, it should just be a good skill, and it is not that. It is terrible. I don't know. I'm slightly mad because Lance is one of the worst SRs in the game, possibly the worst SR, and he deserved a way better 3-cost skill than this. It wouldn't even have made him good. Here's the thing. I feel like even if you remove the flyer and cavalry clause in Lance's talent and this skill, he still would not be that good. So, what? I don't know. What do you think, Frontier?
One word. Sad.
Okay.
They're a little underwhelming, yeah. I'd say underwhelming is the best way to describe them. Like, the stealth is okay, but it doesn't, like, solve her issues. Lance is just, it's just, like, and very slightly better lightning than it's, well, I don't know. I wouldn't recommend using Lance unless you're a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, even fans of Lance, I don't think you should be using him, honestly. Like, you should be protesting because Lance was, like, a very important character in Wikigrisser 1, and they've done him dirty.
I mean, the only thing he's gotten nice recently was that skin from I think a person in China designed the skin.
The ramen skin. Yeah, that skin was designed by a fan artist and it won a contest, so they actually put it into the game.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's all there is to say. Lance has some nice skins, and he he got to get with Narm, so that's a win for him. But aside from that, he's not winning very much in gameplay terms. Or all his daughters and his granddaughters and stuff, they're all pretty good units. You got Clarett, you got Sherry, and well, Luna's his ancestor, but they're all good units in their own way. But Lance, I guess that didn't come from Lance's side of the family. So
Yeah, it's strictly a female part of the family.
hey, we might get Julian Kalzath eventually, and he might be good. Julian is the Kalzath from Wikigrisser Reincarnation. He's the Tensei character I want to see the most, but I guess that's a topic for another day. But I guess we could talk about the exclusives they added this patch, which is Clarett and Omega. First off, this gets some points already because it has HP as the stat. So instead of them being dumb and deciding to give it like magic defense or something, like they so often do. So first, this is similar to the the flower bonnet in that it heals a little bit, but it does not require an HP threshold. So it just requires that Clarett have no allies within new blocks. So when you play Clarett and suicide her in, after her first attack, she is going to heal 15% life, and that's definitely very nice to have. And the other portion is an enemy phase thing where she is tankier. I mean, she takes less damage when she's attacked. That's okay, I guess, but I don't really see the use of it. I mean, the only function I see of it is like if you survive killing a tank, and maybe that will help you survive sometimes, but I doubt it, because if you were attacking a tank, you probably took a decent bit of damage, unless it's like a very weak countering tank. If you took Thorn's damage, then rip. I
feel like the only time it would be useful is if like the tank you were busting was Juggler, like double tap the Juggler, and then maybe if you're lucky you might live a hit you're not supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like a Hilda or like a Landius with bad attack, then Clarett kind of takes very little damage as well, especially if you're using Holy Pegasus. So I don't think this part is completely useless, but it is it's kind of hard to make it work, I feel like, especially with all the most meta units that are around nowadays. Like, I think they can kill Clarett pretty easily.
Yeah, like when I first saw like that when they announced Clarett's exclusive, I think someone put it out there that her exclusive had a when attacking damage dealt increased. And I was about to say, oh well, maybe Clarett will make a comeback as like this like really scary tank buster again, like she was maybe like season 4. But yeah, the defensive aspect to it and a unit that's mostly meant for DPSing is a bit weird.
Yeah, I mean, these are nice bonuses, but I think a lot of problem really comes down to Clarett's kit and how a lot of the meta is shaped around a way where Clarett's skills cannot come handy, because like the passive disable, or the buff disable from her 3-cost skill, you can't really apply that well anymore because of all the blood packs around. Passive disable is still good, but there's Rosin, there's Gospels. It's annoying.
Plus, most Clarett still probably run Peacemaker for tank busting.
Peacemaker, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of them switched back to Rag just because Blood Pact was more common now, so you can blow up. So now you don't have to worry about being immune to your fixed damage. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all I gotta say. I guess we could talk about Omegas. So some people were kind of going crazy about Omega's exclusive. I mean, I don't want to make it seem like it's bad because it is good. It gives you cooldown reduction, extra skill, which is always nice, I guess, and then move +2, a free breeze. But this is all after you kill someone. So to me, it's like, if you've already killed someone with Omega, I think you've already accomplished what you needed to do with him. I mean, obviously you can follow up, kill more stuff, but it's like the extras. At that point, if I've already killed someone, do I really need even more skill? Do I really need the breeze again? And the cooldown reduction is nice enough that it's not enough. It wasn't enough to actually reset the cooldown on Knowing Strike. So it's not like I can Knowing Strike twice in a row either. I might be able to use what is it? I forgot what it was called. The other attack skill he has that has a cooldown reduction if you attack someone that's debuffed. Focus Snipe. That's what it was. that will reset immediately if you kill someone with that, but I don't think I've ever seen someone bring Focus Snipe on Omega. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, a lot of people are saying this is a very good exclusive, but I'm not really seeing it, because, like, these are all things he likes, but they are all happening after he's already killed somebody, so it's like, it'll help you snowball a victory maybe, but it's like, I don't think it's really necessary. It's nice, but not really crazy.
It's okay. It's just like buying like the equivalent of buying like a DLC package where it's like, all right, here's a couple of free items that you don't really need. Like, they look nice, but like it doesn't overall help Omega. If these were like before battle, where it's like, all right, Omega now gets like +2 movement or increased skill, so it's easier to use surprise attack, then yeah, it'd be much better. The fact that it's after killing when Omega has a hard time killing anyway in a PvP setting. Yeah, it's not as good as people make it out to be.
Yeah, if you really needed that extra skill, then you probably picked ban incorrectly, because most of the time people don't build Omega with the assumption that you're going to run into stuff that has enough skill where you need some kind of skill buff for him to pierce the guard or triple. You know, the high skill enemies that you don't want to deal with Omega should be banned early if you're using Omega. So the extra skill is like, it's a nice bonus, but it's not really necessary. And Omega's kind of at the point where he has so much skill that almost nobody bothers to build skill anymore. So I don't feel like extra skill is really necessary for the guy. And even if you really, really wanted extra skill for the guy, just bring the Witch Hat. You can use the Witch Hat with him now, because he has his 3-cost skill doesn't take down buffs, so the Witch Hat actually works with him.
It's nice, but yeah, like you said, there's like, people don't really accommodate for Omega anymore. I know when he first came up, people were like, "Oh, we have to be scared." I know a lot of people were building skill on their AB stones, so they were surprise attack proof. But I mean, there's a lot more ways to like artificially increase skill now, and well, we've had new items in the game like Insidious Pendant, which just skyrocket Omega's skill level, so it feels redundant to even try now.
Yeah, basically, if you want to dodge a triple with like Liana or something, you actually would need to equip you probably need to equip some kind of skill accessory. And when you get to that point, it's kind of like you're just spending way too much effort on just dodging this one character. And the characters that are not scared of him usually have enough skill to not care. Like the Sword Saint characters, you know, like Reen has a lot of skill. Deedlet's skill is high enough. It's like they don't care anyway, so it's like he's kind of in that spot where it's like he doesn't really need more skill, because logically everybody has come to the conclusion where like, if I have a unit that's gonna die to Omega, I'm not gonna bother doing the skill investment.
Like, there's also a lot of units in the game that are just Omega proof. Yeah. I mean, like you said, Deedlet is basically Omega proof, even though I've seen a lot of Omegas just attack Deedlet directly, but the amount of defense she has and the Star Earring, the Giant's Resolve, like, it all adds up, and he never really kills.
Yeah.
Same with Reen, too much damage reduction. I have a spicy tech against Omega in like Apex because I run Lanford, so Lanford artificially increases the stats of every unit.
Oh my gosh.
That is also an option, yes. Yeah, that kind of makes us circle back to why this exclusive isn't as impressive as it looks. It's helpful to make you kill the units you were going to kill even more, but it's probably not enough to help Omega kill units that he wouldn't have been killing anyway.
I mean, the other thing is that, like, the exclusive is coming out when Kayura is coming out, and it's like, wow, Kayura is just a much better assassin than Omega. I mean, they have a similar like play design in like the whole teleporting around the map and stuff, but Kayura is a lot more consistent with killing stuff by the looks of things.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times Omega really does rely on the triple to kill. And if you want to kill with a double, you probably need to bring Knowing Strike. You guys, Frontier, you want to add anything here about Omega LOL?
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's all there is in terms of like new characters and new stuff for characters. I'll talk a little bit, real quick, about the Ronin Warriors event. So the Ronin Warriors event's like, the main thing I want to point out is that it feels like they actually put a lot of effort into this. collab, at least compared to some of the other collabs, because when I was playing it, I didn't really read it, but I was playing it, and it was like, they put like a special animation for when you go into stages and stuff. At least I was able to tell that somebody on the dev team was a big fan of the show.
Someone reliving their childhood memories.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. And, when you compare it to something like, say, the Record of Lodos War collab, or like, I guess the Yu Yu Hakusho collab, they didn't really have a choice because the IP holder wouldn't allow them to use, to create a plot event. But, yeah, I mean, it just feels like this had a lot more effort put into it.
Cool.
I guess we'll see when it comes over. I don't think this IP will be difficult for for Zalone to get in the States as well. Like I said, this show is on Amazon Prime, so I guess that might be the only roadblock. I don't know how much of a problem that is. I don't understand this stuff. But unlike Wataru, because Wataru wasn't, I don't think Wataru was even licensed in the States, so it probably was no problem whatsoever for him to get that collab. But this one, I think, they might run into a little bit more trouble, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. I guess one final thing I will add is that on the month of the Ronin Warriors collab, they reran the auto chess mode again, and I hate it.
I hate
Like the groans of thousands of people.
auto chess is such a boring event. I hate it so much.
Yeah. That's all I gotta say. Yeah. I don't like it. Okay. You guys want to add anything?
Like, I remember when it was popular as like a side mini game, like in Dota 2, because I used to play that quite a lot when it came out, and it's just like, I didn't like it then, I don't like it in Wikigrisser, I'm never gonna be a fan.
Yeah, when it first came out, I played like 2 or 3 games, and I was like, "Hey, this isn't so bad." But then it's like I was just playing. I had to play it more, and I was just like, "God."
Okay then.
Yeah. Okay, and that's actually, I think, all we have this time. Again, this was definitely kind of a strange collab, at least I guess to the Western global audience, because this is super obscure to most of us. But I have seen people in the community say that they are excited for this one because, like I said earlier, this one actually did come over stateside. So I'm sure there are people who have actually watched the show, whether it's when they were a kid or maybe they just caught it on Amazon Prime at some point. If you're curious, and you have Amazon Prime, I guess you could go check it out. But it is a very 90s anime action show, so it is what it is.
I can't say I'm like specifically looking forward to it. I'm considering maybe pulling for Kayura. I'm gonna try more of a mythical dark stuff with like Kruger coming out in global next month. So I think that's probably the main thing I'm interested in.
I'm looking forward to the rewards from the collab. Not the collab itself.
Sounds like somebody just needs to marathon the anime. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us today, Cecil.
Thanks for having me. It's nice.
Yeah, like I said at the start, Cecil is part of the Art Academy, and I've posted some of their works onto a page on the Wikigrisser site, and there's just a lot of really great artwork coming out of these guys. I'm hoping I can expand this section even more in the future, although we do have something somewhat special planned for the site, so that's been keeping us a little bit busy. So Cecil, you want to shamelessly plug your artwork, or anybody else here?
I won't plug myself, but I will plug Cruduin. Like, personally, he's my favorite artist out of everyone that's in the group. Like, I absolutely adore his artwork. Like, please go check him out if you have the chance.
And of course, I will link the page I created to host a lot of the Art Academy's art in the link below. And if any of you are not in the Art Academy and you want to like submit some fan art, you could just like talk to me on Discord or something, and I can put it up for you as well. All right, Frontier, you want to say you have anything you want to say?
Thank you for coming.
All right, well, that's Ronin Warriors. Get your samurai swords out and say nothing personal, kid, and get ready for this collab. All right, see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.